Cheers. Welcome to Culture Night,
where each week we're doing fancy wine watch movies that are in some way culturally significant. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sarah, and we are back for Season 6, Episode 9, the season finale
of the longest season
there ever was in the history of this podcast. Oh my goodness, we made it.
Somehow even longer than Season 1, which was like
16 episodes long.
16, yeah.
Yeah, we started recording this in September, and it is the middle of May right now, so apologies.
We're almost through it.
But I'm actually really excited for tonight and to finish out the season and to actually jump into what we're drinking tonight.
Yes, me too. So before we get too far into it, we are drinking tonight the 2022 Fat Boy Zinfandel.
From Tobin James.
As almost always. What do we think?
What do you mean? The smell?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to fill some dead space.
Oh, it is. It's very sweet on the nose. It's not going to be a sweet wine, but
like floral, very flowery,
very fragrant. It's not, but not like alcohol fragrant. I feel like sometimes I'm like, ooh, but
I'm still battling a cold and allergies, and it's very wet outside today, so not able to smell this the best.
Whoa.
But I feel like Fat Boy is usually very punchy on the flavor there.
Did you hear me? I sounded a little punchy. Mm-hmm. A lot of flavor there.
Yeah. Well, very thick, viscous, sweet. Not terribly sweet, but
I get like some tart cherry, but also with a little bit of spice, like nutmeg maybe.
Mm-hmm. We've read the description for Fat Boy plenty of times, but it talks about how it is a wine.
Thank God.
That is like a best friend you had as a kid, big, brash, and maybe slightly obnoxious, but always loved. So I think Fat Boy's Zinfandel just generally has a whole lot of flavor. I think it would be a really good crowd pleaser for your everyday wine drinkers for sure. And
I was sorting through the box and I was like, Zinfandel's always good. We'll grab one of these.
A lot of good flavors. We will let you know our thoughts again after the movie in the second half of the show.
Yep. And now that we have the wine out of the way, or in the way, however you choose to look at it, we are going to jump into our Slept On It segment where we revisit the movie that we watched last week. Last week, we watched The Martian from 2015 with Matt Damon. You rated it a 8.4 and I rated it a 7.4. Does your rating change after sleeping on it?
On the one hand, I wouldn't dock it a little bit just because, to our point, like it's not super quotable. It's kind of long. You're not really going to want to like rewatch it consistently, although it is. Even though it is long, pleasant to rewatch. Yeah, I don't know. I just like how like Mars is becoming like such a big kind of like focal point over the next couple of years that I'm just interested to see like how it actually like influences like the way we approach Mars travel and look at it. Just anything that they to take away from this and Yeah, and I think that like to that point, what's really interesting about this space season is when we started the season, it was the 70s.
Obviously, we started with Star Trek, I believe, so sci-fi. But once we got into the actual like more science-based space movies, it was like just getting to space and the moon and just like all of that. And then now we've done that, and so now it's like, well, what do we look to next? Mars, and I think that's interesting to see how that progresses over the years.
Is it in like in the first movie that came out? That was not too far after the moon landing, really, that Star Trek movie. And I think if you looked at the progression of where you think you would have been 40 years from then at that time, it would be like, oh yeah, we're clearly like, cruising past Saturn. And it's not really the case. So it almost seems like movies got slightly less ambitious as it went on, but for like what the current year time period would be. But I think with like looking at this era as kind of being like, okay, we're going to look maybe a little bit past the moon, start aiming towards Mars, kind of seems like that's more on pace with where we currently are.
Yeah.
More realistic. But unfortunately, we're not crazy exploring next galaxies.
I think we've got too much else to worry about besides space. Let me revisit my score because we haven't got there yet. I am going to bump mine up a little bit because it is just really good. And the casting is really good. And, just like the storytelling, the way the story is told, I feel like is super interesting. I know I touched on it last week about how I love just using like the cameras within the space station as a way of telling his side of the story. Like I just feel like a lot of that was really well done. So I'm going to bump it up to an 8. It was, and I just love it. Yeah. And we have to factor in whether or not we love a movie. So I'm
excited for you to read the book or listen to the book at some point and let us know in a future episode
how it compares. Yes. Remind me when this podcast is over and I will put it on hold because I'm certain it's probably got a long hold list. I'm certain it's pretty popular. I will touch a little bit on the book now that we are jumping into our fact snacks. And let's start with, so my first fact snack is that they actually used a body double for Matt Damon because he was like willing to lose the weight because, you know, obviously he's stranded on Mars for a really long period of time and he was like ready to do it. But apparently he had done it for some other movie, which I unfortunately did not write down, from the 90s. And he was kind of left with a lot of lasting impacts from doing like a really sharp weight loss like that. And they were like, no, we appreciate you. Good looking out, but like, don't do that. So they, and honestly, I was thinking that while watching it because he always had the towel over his head when he was naked. So I kind of figured it wasn't actually him, but
yeah, that makes sense. The part where he kind of loses a whole lot of weight over the last like year of eating like a third of a potato each day.
A third of a slice of meatloaf. Oh my God.
Yikes.
So they did confirmed use a body double for him. My next note, this actually kind of ties back into the book a little bit, is talking about the relationship between Beck and Johansson, that we don't really see until like the very end of the movie. You kind of get like a little glimpse, and then maybe like 20 minutes later, they kind of reveal that they have some kind of relationship. And actually in the book, that is not the case. It is like everybody knows that they have something going on, and actually even the commander knows they have a relationship, and like says like, you guys can share quarters, which was something that wasn't allowed up until that point. But because they decided to add on that extra portion of the trip, she's like, we got to get everybody's morale up, so we're going to do what we need to do here for that. So they had this like, so everybody kind of knew it was going on there, which I thought was interesting. Especially you'd think for like a feature film, they'd be like, romance, let's add that in there. Just, I mean, even though obviously I think it was good that it wasn't a huge plot point to it, but you just think Hollywood. Yeah,
I was going to say maybe in an extended version, they might have thought about that, but it was already a long enough movie. They probably didn't want to explore it, but they do always love a good little love story in any movie.
All right. And then while we're on the topic of the book, I was kind of bummed that these Fact Snacks ruined the book a little bit because I was actually looking forward to reading it. But I do feel like these are important to talk about on the podcast. And that is that the final scene set in the future where he's teaching the future astronaut candidates, can't help it, have to say it. That was not in the book.
I was actually thinking it probably wasn't.
They ended with him being picked up by the team and being like, you know, this is the happiest day of my life. And just his like transit. Now, I don't think it really dives too deep into the transition, but it does kind of touch on what we talked about last week of how, I don't need that extra scene of him in the future. I want to know about that transition because you're by yourself for almost 2 years. Like, yikes.
Yeah. And you get to actually talk out loud to people and they're going to talk back to you as opposed to talking to the camera or typing out messages back home.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting that was not included in the book. And you are just giving me good segues into my next fact snacks. So my next fact snack is that so at the scene when he is getting ready to meet up with the team and they finally are able to get like radio connection to each other and he hears Commander Lewis's voice for the first time, that Matt Damon actually cried doing that because and I'll touch on this in a second, he didn't really do a lot of filming with the rest of the cast. And so he'd been doing a lot of filming by himself. And so he, you know, having been in that mindset, filming all of these scenes, he was just so in the place of the character. And they actually only shot that one time. And that's the scene that you see in the movie is him hearing her for the first time. And actually, I'm pretty sure it was just a recording of her voice. It wasn't even like her live acting with him. And I just feel like that like speaks to him as an actor for how talented he is, how in the zone he is, but also
I feel kind of dumb that it didn't even occur to me that they were like, he was filming all those scenes just in isolation, like back to back to back, probably.
Oh, just wait. You want to hear the next fact snack and then we can elaborate on it further, is that he shot all the solo scenes for 5 weeks straight, just him and the crew, obviously, that was there too. And, he didn't meet a lot of the cast that was in the movie until they were doing press for it coming out. Obviously, he had to do some scenes with the crew, like all the getting back together and the stuff at the beginning. But he, for the most part, was by himself on the shoot and didn't even like get to know any of the other actors. So again, that was also something I hadn't thought about either. But I also feel like doing it that way intentionally, like it's just gonna be you 5 weeks. It kind of, I think it has to help you get into that headspace of being stranded.
That's something that like never occurs to me. We've watched some of the behind the scenes of things like Moana and Frozen where the voice actors just record all their parts separately and they finally meet each other like for like a big press premiere or something like that, or press event. And they're like, oh, nice to meet you. And you're like, wait, I can't believe they did all that and they hadn't even met each other, or maybe they just heard a recording of the voice and done all that. It's also weird to me when I see like actors in the press or when they talk about like, when when it's like a character who's like the good guy and the bad guy, and they're like doing press together. It's like also like kind of jarring too. Is really weird to say. Hold on, there's one more thing I was gonna say. Oh, but at the same time, it's also weird to me. Sometimes I see like actors and they'll show like a scene or they'll talk about it. Like it was on the White Lotus season 3, they had like some of the actual actors like talking about the other characters, and it was weird to me because all of the scenes in White Lotus, it's like a bunch of like independent families for the most part, and there's very little kind of crossover between them interacting together. But then them like talking about the other actors, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they probably were all at this resort together, all in one place. And they like probably watched the other scenes. That it's weird the difference between like what we see and what actually happens, and how it can be so different from what you expect,
and so different from project to project, whether it's something like White Lotus where they are all on location somewhere and just trying to do it all together, and kind of probably unlike this where it was like, mostly him by himself, that other people were like, okay, well, I'm working Tuesday, Thursday, and you're working Wednesday, Friday. And that there's probably a lot more like overlap like this where like, but this was also, like we said, probably intentional to have him be by himself for so long, which I think is so interesting. And I think that's one of the things that I find the most fascinating about movies and TV shows is just how different all of that behind the scenes stuff works. Hence why I love these fact snacks. It's just like a little look into what's behind the camera. And also we've talked many times about how we just still really miss a good DVD commentary, and how much the commentary, any of the other behind the scenes things they filmed is just so interesting.
I think we also talked about in way earlier episodes back when we did more behind the screens, which kind of have let go this season, but we'll get back to that hopefully eventually.
We're doing what we can here, folks.
All the logistics that goes behind or goes along with all this, that like the assistant directors and everyone else that's like coordinating all these things, so that especially with when you've got big name actors, figuring out when they can be on set and how you can still make those scenes happen or make the most of it, take advantage of their time, knowing that they have the next project coming up, and trying to coordinate all that. It's a lot more planning that goes into it than you might think.
Yeah. So that wraps it up for my fact snacks for today. There was a lot of stuff out there. If you want to read more about it, or if you find an interesting fact whilst looking into this movie, please leave us a comment. We would love to hear more because, like we've said, we love this movie. Any other thoughts?
Don't think so. Ready to move into the movie that we are watching tonight. What are we watching?
Tonight we are watching Hidden Figures from 2016. It is rated PG.
For some reason, I thought it was newer than that, but
2016. I had 2019 in my head, so I don't know what I was writing it down. I will put an asterisk here, and we will get to this just a second when we go back into our time machine, is that it actually premiered like on Christmas of 2016. So it's basically 2017, but it was actually premiered in 2016. So I did write that, but gotcha. Pick your year, 16, 17.
Yeah. Which feels like it should be yesterday, but it was actually like almost a decade ago. So kill me.
I hate when we talk about those things. Yep. So with that, let's just
cry and then hop into a time machine. Back 9 years ago. Unplanned. All right. Were the top 3 movies released that year? Wow, these feel older. Top 3 movies released that year were Finding Dory, grossing $486 million, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, grossing $424 million, and Captain America: Civil War, grossing $408 million. Man. So those definitely feel much older. This one, I like I said, assumed it was much newer. Hidden Figures was all the way down at 220th, grossing only 1.9 million. But as you said, it came out.
Yeah, this has a release date on it of December 25th, 2016. So there was really only about a week for it to make any money and be on it at all. So I saw that and I was like, oh my God, 220th. And then I was like, oh. So then
if you look into it into the next year, into 2017, it was the 20th, grossing 167 million. So kind of somewhere in that, 20-ish range for the year overall. The top 3 songs released that year were Love Yourself, and number 2 was Sorry, both by Justin Bieber. And the third song was One Dance by Drake featuring WizKid and Kyla.
I meant to look that one up because that one doesn't come to me off the top of my head. I'm sure I'd recognize it if I heard it, but off the top of my head.
I know the song. I'm not going to sing it because I don't think I would probably get the right rhythm, but I definitely know it, especially it being Drake. Played 1.5 million times.
That's why I'm said. I'm sure that I know what it is. It just didn't occur to me. I think also because Justin Bieber just got in my head, and then not that I'm a big Justin Bieber fan, that was just also on the radio all the time, so it was kind of hard to escape it at the time. And double 2 back-to-back number 1 and 2. That's really speaks to the times.
Year of the Biebs. So, right. Hidden Figures. Have you seen it before?
I have not. Have you seen it before?
I have not seen it before, and I also know basically nothing about the movie.
So I know a little bit. So I'm going to let you give a prediction of what you think this movie's
about. Well, I believe that the thumbnail showed some females on it. So my guess is that this is about the women of space and how they, or the wives behind the scenes of the space race and how they led to the men getting all the credit to, I guess, winning the space race, but they couldn't have done it without the hidden figures behind them.
I love how you worked that in there. It's like almost like you're from the 1980s or 90s and trying to sneak the title of the movie into.
How are we going to do it without these hidden figures?
Oh,
I guess that would be like the 1890s. A little too far back there.
I really like that. But I almost got like a little New York there. So I was like Joe Pesci from Home Alone was what I took that as. But I appreciate all the effort right there. Yeah. All right. So I think with that, we should just jump into Hidden Figures. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Cheers. Cheers. Welcome back. That was Hidden Figures.
Sure was. But before we get too far into it, let's start.
I mean, if we don't just jump right into the wine scale, we don't jump into the wine
Before we get into it at all, let's go into the wine scale. The wine scale is a 0 to 10 rating. However, the wine that we drink in the show is very good wine. So a low score does not necessarily mean that it is not a good wine, because as I said, all the wine we drink on this show is very good. That being said,
the scale is also heavily weighted.
Is that what did I say it?
You skipped that part, but I was just making sure.
Scale's heavily weighted. Anyways, y'all know the drill. I'm gonna rate this wine a 6.0.
6.2.
I was really close to a 6.1. Anyway, it's 6.0.
I went back and forth, like all the way up to like 6.5, and because I mean it was very delightful.
It's a great crowd.
I liked last week's better.
It's a great crowd pleaser. I just, I've had better. It's good. You will not regret having it. No one's going to complain and be like, this wine is not very good if you serve it. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I very much enjoyed it. I felt like it was very flavorful. It did mellow out a little bit, like round two, but it was still very complex.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Again, like above 5 is about like take it, like you're gonna want this. It's a good wine. You're not gonna have any regrets. So the fact that it's a 6, good.
I don't even know if we really had any like 9 or 10. We've definitely not had a 10 in the wine category.
Yeah, not a 10. I think we've had some highly rated ones, but this one pretty good.
Yeah,
can never go wrong with a Fat Boy for
definitely.
Sure. Anyways, moving on to a movie rating out of 10. I'm going to make you go first.
I know. And I started thinking about a rating last night and I forgot what I said. So I'm going to give this one a 6.8.
4.1.
Would you like me to go first or would you like to talk about your score first?
You can explain your score first and then I'll explain mine.
I thought the cast was incredible. I mean, it was a lot of big name people. Mm-hmm. I do feel like a lot of them were very well cast, and I have some notes about that I'll get to that momentarily. I do not think it's super quotable. I would rewatch it again. Not like watch it on repeat like some other like stupid movies that I have 1,000 times in my life, but it is a story that I found was really interesting. I do feel like there was some like comedic bits in there that I thought were very entertaining. The main cast of women I thought did a really excellent job. And I do feel like it tells a very important story. Mm-hmm. Although there's some asterisks there.
For sure.
But I don't know. I enjoyed it.
I think it was decently enjoyable. I think it would have been a lot better as a mini series.
Yes.
The storyline was fine. They kind of combine and gloss over some things for the like some actual facts just for the sake of storytelling. There isn't many parts that I go back where I'm like, oh man, I really want to watch like that 5, 10, 15, 20 minute sequence again. It was just kind of like, it just kind of moved. It wasn't too terribly slow. Mm-hmm. It kind of went by fairly quick for a 2-hour movie. Not quotable, as we said. Cultural significance, like as a movie, I don't really hear people talking about it. Mm-hmm. I think what it represents is a role in a time period that's very much not represented in
it's
film
hidden, if you
or
will.
history. Yeah, the figures themselves.
The figures themselves have been hidden.
Are hidden. But overall, like as a movie, I was actually surprised. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 93%, which I think generally it just means that 93% of ratings rate it like positively, not necessarily that like, if you take all the averages of them, it rates to 93. But I wouldn't say it's really a bad movie. I just, I don't know. It was fine. It had a lot of overlap, I think, also with other movies we've seen this season too, which didn't help that much for like engaging of like, oh yeah, interesting, really story. Cause like, it's a different sort of perspective on
some of the things we've already seen.
Like very much like on, especially, The Right Stuff we watched there.
Yeah. And I appreciate where you were coming from that. I will have some more thoughts once we get further down into our questionnaire for the after show. But overall, I did really enjoy it. And I guess we will elaborate more on our notes. So let's move into our movie description. Why don't you?
Yeah, movie description. It shows the story of 3 Black women that were involved heavily in the space race, especially in like the relatively early years, and how they kind of handled those conditions. This is how society was, and still provided a whole lot of value to the space program, and eventually got a lot of recognition, but in the time period had to struggle through a whole lot.
All right. The description, according to RTV, is the untold story of Katherine G. Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, brilliant African-American women working at NASA and serving as the brains behind one of the greatest operations in history, the launch of astronaut John Glenn into orbit. The visionary trio crossed all gender and race lines to inspire generations to dream big. Honestly, I feel like that's pretty good. It's not sassy like some of the other ones are. Like I feel like that's actually a really excellent description. If I want to know what the movie's about, I think that's...
Yeah, someone was not trying to meet their word quota with that one.
Definitely
not. Was the movie what you expected?
Yes, because I knew what it was about. Was the movie what you expected?
No. I think based on my prediction before the movie, I can say it's kind of, but no.
Yeah. In some ways I was like, you're not like wrong, but you're also not correct.
Yeah, I was off just a couple degrees there. Yeah. But I think it kind of was telling the story of the space race through like some people that it generally
a non-white male perspective, which is what it usually is told from.
Yeah. Which honestly, based on the makeup of 95% of the people that they showed in the scenes working at NASA, I think that was generally most of the perspectives there. That it's good to see some other perspectives. And yeah, I think almost what I expected, but not quite. How well did it age?
Fine. It's telling about
it's a period
true
piece,
events,
as we've covered before.
Yes, we have a lot of period pieces.
It's just our general excuse there. No, I think it aged fairly well. Especially like CGI didn't look bad. Seemed pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a whole almost decade old, as we covered earlier, but overall pretty good. Did they say the title of the movie in the movie?
Could it be made today? Did you already say that?
Shit, yeah.
Could it be made today?
Yeah. Could it be made today?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, why not?
Yeah.
Probably honestly the same actors.
Yep.
Most of them not aged. Kevin Costner, I think, probably still could play the same role.
Right. I was going to say, I feel like none of them have really aged in 10 years, which is like incredible. Good on you. But like,
we've really mastered the whole age of anti-aging.
Yes.
If you will.
I think we maybe need to work on our own anti-aging.
Maybe we'll get some sponsors that will sponsor us some anti-aging and we can bring it to you.
Oh, man.
There's the opening. Did they say the title of the movie in the movie?
No.
Yeah, I think it would have been kind of weird unless they were like, looking through these and there's some hidden figures. Yeah, I guess the hidden figures, the double entendre is that these were the women that were hidden from the national spotlight of like actually empowering NASA, but it's also the hidden figures of she couldn't see the figures, the mathematical numbers that were redacted, so she had to hold them to the light to see what they were. That's maybe
I think there's probably a lot of meanings there.
Double meanings there, yeah. Does the title fit the movie?
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. We just covered there's
important historical figures that were hidden from history, plus all of your extra meaning to it. I think it was a great title. Yeah. Do you have anything fun and sassy for us?
No, I can't think of anything that wouldn't get to.
I really feel like the rom-com season really lent itself to having good titles, but like it's really hard with space to come up with something super
I'm actually
creative.
just like really happy with this title. Like it just seems like it's whoever came up with it was just like, this is going to work so well. You get this slight double meaning, but like it tells the story. You know what you're getting. It's just, it fits.
But it also doesn't give everything away. Like it is, and it's not super long and complex like simple to the point, does his job.
Does the rating fit the movie? The rating being PG.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I could have seen PG-13, but they chose not to probably go beyond that.
Making it more accessible to more people.
Yeah, there were a couple of situations where I feel like someone would have cussed and they just didn't. They probably to keep it within PG. So yeah, I think.
But also, I don't think people cursed as much in the 1960s as we do today.
True.
Just being honest.
Yeah, they said "bless your heart" instead of "f you."
Right. Or what'd she say? Mother of Mary or something. Or she said something, and I was like, she's going a different direction, and then she went the much more clean version. So.
Yeah, and based on what I quickly read, between when the movie ended when we started recording this, is I think they kind of Disneyified almost some of the aspects of this. I don't know if this is produced by Disney, but it seems like they kind of like tried to make a better family-oriented story from some of the things.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I think in your movie description, they definitely changed several things, not drastically, but to fit a story of, you know, who's running across campus to go to the bathroom and, you know, different little things like that, which I kind of knew going into it. I read enough on the Wikipedia page, not that I actually sought out the Wikipedia page before watching the movie, but I did see that it said it's loosely based on true events. So then I was kind of like the whole time like, oh, how much of this is like actually accurate? And I mean, obviously not to take away from what these women did, because certainly women have had to do a lot of work, especially Black women. Like that's a hill that special people fight, and I do not want to diminish their efforts. But I was kind of nervous of like, how much are we changing the truth just to make this great movie? Because, you know, with Hollywood, you never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And I think that maybe the story could have been told more accurately with over a miniseries, but at the same time, I think
as soon as you said miniseries, I was like, damn it, that was the way to do it.
But at the same time, some things are just too much, is where it's like, oh yeah, this is actually a combination of like 8 people. And so we made up one person as opposed to making this one person that there had all those traits. So I can kind of see that. But, yeah, I think we're getting back to just ready for the movie. Yeah.
Yes.
In conclusion there, could you make the case of this being a Christmas movie?
No,
I didn't see any Christmas
They didn't even give any little hint.
Holiday.
With all the family stuff or like the community that they showed, no Christmas. I
guess the only case you could make is that it could be a Cinco de Mayo movie, because there was a May 5th scene of one of the launches
with
there.
No Cinco de Mayo celebrations.
Yeah, but you could,
which is also like a semi-made up holiday, but mostly for Americans.
The case. It's all that's important. Were there any actors that went on to do bigger things? I don't know. I feel like there were a lot of actors that had been in bigger things before this or during the time.
Well, there is. I don't know if you fully noticed him. He was more of a background actor. He did have some speaking lines. The officer from OBX, who's also was in One Tree Hill.
Of course, being Outer Banks, for those of you who don't.
Yes.
Know the
oh my gosh. I just keep picturing the title or the movie or the poster for the thing, and it said OBX on it. Yes, Outer Banks. Sorry.
Yeah.
Simple slip on my part. But I hate that I can't remember his name, because I know him from like multiple things, but he I don't know if you'd consider Outer Banks a bigger role, because he does have a larger role, and he was very like secondary, tertiary character.
He's been in a lot of
One
things.
Tree Hill,
Actor. Kirsten Dunst was in this, but she also had done bigger things. I think she was honestly one of her biggest things was in Spider-Man when we were growing up. Kevin Costner's been in a million things, a lot of movies, much bigger than this.
Taraji P. Henson and Octavia Spencer, big names. The girl who played Mary Jackson is Janelle Monáe, and she was featured on We Are Young by Fun. So she's more musical. From what I could tell. I didn't have too much time to read into her Wikipedia page, but she is in that and the music video, which is fun. And
which is fun.
I hate you so much.
I mean, you said it was by Fun. So
and Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory.
So I think a lot of people that I wouldn't say this was like their big thing.
Who from Friday Night Lights?
Oh yeah, he played the transfer court voodoo, whatever, from
New Orleans.
The transfer from New Orleans. Can't remember the actor's name.
Yes, and also the man who married Catherine. I know he was in Hunger Games. He was in a couple other things too, but I was looking for what I would know him from, and I think it was Hunger Games that stood out to me. So like everybody was in stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they many people that I know from this one.
This was not a jumping off point for
right on bigger things, but a lot of interesting characters and actors in there. What impact do you think the movie had on pop culture?
I mean, I think it was an important story to tell, and I think for a lot of people, this definitely was important to see those roles that were hidden, brought to light and told, and just showing that like it wasn't all just like John Glenn and like all those white men doing things. Like there are a lot of other people behind the scenes doing things. Even I also thought it was interesting seeing the man who was a white man, but he was the Polish Jew or whatever, who I think it said he wasn't actually, it was based on somebody else, but who was of a similar descent, like coming to America, and like his parents were killed in a Nazi death camp. And just like that, it's not just all like white American men. Like there were a lot of people that were like, we've got to get to space. And I think it was about the bigger mission and not like what you look like, who you are.
The other hidden figures amongst the hidden figures.
Oh my gosh. This will be a long episode, y'all.
Yeah, I think it didn't have it did well in the box office, got great reviews. I still think it's still a story that is not told well enough, and still probably most people that we know do not know this story or have not heard it. So
and I just remembered something that I wanted to say when I was talking about my movie rating is that I feel like it was culturally significant of sharing these stories and that aspect. I don't know that it was as much pop culturally significant, like some of the movies that are like in the zeitgeist and you can quote them, and they're like Star Wars and these like franchise movies. I think like I said, culturally significant, yes. Pop culturally significant, not as much. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Well, no, that's well put. Yeah, and I think leading in the next question of do you feel culture after watching it? Yes, based on the story, not based on like everyone we know quoting it or having seen it or talking about it.
Yep, and that was my exact thought, because when I was giving my movie rating, I was like, I wanted to say all this, but I figured I should save it for the end, is that I am glad that I heard these stories, and I know there is a book, and just, I say this all the time, maybe I'll listen to it, maybe I won't. I probably will. And I wonder if that will be more true to form, or if it is more of this kind of like adapted reality to tell a important story in a more condensed form. I don't know, but I do want to learn more about this, the details of this. And I look forward to sitting down and actually having more time to read the full Wikipedia page than the like 5 minutes between when the movie ends and when we sit down here.
So that leads us into our notes. Can't remember who went first last time.
I believe you went first last time. Okay. So I'm going to go first this time. All right. So my first note is she is so cute. The little Catherine, she's like seeing the shapes come out of the stained glass and doing all her little calculations. Like I just want to put her in my little pocket.
It reminded me of Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
Where it's like shows whatever. Seeing
doing
the chess pieces on the ceiling. It was that where it's like... But it was weird to me that didn't come into play at all the rest of the movie. Yeah,
I almost feel like, I mean, I don't know if that would have detracted from the importance of the story they were telling, but I do feel like some people like numbers and math are like that, are like this magical, like it all just makes sense. And also like, I enjoy math. I like math, but like thinking of the degree of calculations that she was doing on a chalkboard without calculators, without Google, without any sort of like resource. I'm so impressed. And under the like pressure that she's under.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that
skills
specific.
Aren't really taught as much anymore, and it probably was slightly exaggerated, but yeah, it's things where like with our ADHD, I think we're just kind of like, divide the first number, and I've already forgotten the other numbers, and I'm moving on.
Yeah. It just was like, and again, like you said, some of it was probably exaggerated to a certain extent, but like how many like people, I mean, that was the fact that they called the women computers. And I'm like, no, but like a computer is like a typing on a computer. Do you have that note?
No, I had a note that I really wish my job title was computer.
I know, it caught me off guard the first couple of times. Like, well, you're a computer, and I'm like, she's not a computer, she's a person.
Like, as someone whose day job is a software engineer, I really feel like I would be so much happier if my job title was just computer.
I think you would.
I'm someone who just computes things with a computer.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. But I mean, just like the amount of like mathematical power that so many people had to have to make this stuff happen was very impressive.
Yeah.
All right. My next note is it will never cease to amaze me that people got to space in the 1960s with their technology or 50s. I mean, it was coming like, I mean, just seeing like the screens that had like pre-printed things on them. Like it wasn't like an actual like computer screen like we think of today with like where you can live update the graphics super quickly and super high technology and just all the push buttons that, I mean, I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, I think nowadays the way like I write code or the way I build things or do things, I just kind of like do something, try it, doesn't work, I throw it away, and I can just like retry a million times. With this, you can only try those launches, but so many times. You can only do this, like it costs so much money, so much material to like make just the launch like rockets, whatever, to launch the shuttle, not to mention everything else along with that. Then you put people in. You can't just like try it didn't work, you just do it again in a lot of these situations. It's a huge lost amount of resources there that I can't imagine needing to be that perfect every single time.
It is unreal. And I mean, obviously we've done a whole space season on space. We have expressed our interest in space many times, so we've seen a lot more outside of this, and I'll just never get over the fact that somehow we were able to do that. And I kind of have another note about this, is just like how much was unknown leading into these launches, and how like she'd hand in a report and he'd be like, throw it away. Like everything has changed already. And just I think this movie did a really good job of showing how rapidly things were changing, how little they really knew. Cause I feel like Apollo 13, you don't see a lot of, it's just like, we're just doing this. And that was also like later on in the, from this of when he went up to the moon, or not the moon, that whatever, orbit. There it is. But I just feel like this was a really good job of showing that like earlier time before we were still like, can we even get out of Earth's atmosphere? And just, we have to do all this math, but it's changing every second. And just like, we literally don't know. This math doesn't exist yet. And I feel like that was one of my big takeaways from this too. I mean, obviously I knew what the movie was about going into it, but just like really appreciating how much effort that took.
And I feel like so much of it must have been like, you do the math, this thing comes out impossible, but then all of a sudden you see Russia do it, or vice versa. Russia sees it like the US do it. It must have been like, okay, well now we got to go back to the drawing board because things we thought were impossible apparently are possible. So now how do we make this math work? What did they know that we didn't know? How do they possibly do this? Just like rapidly iterating through that.
What a time. But
then what we also talked about in the previous episodes was all of the simulation and testing tools that they had to test these things out, and for the astronauts to train on, or for them just to see whether something is possible. Someone had to make that, but then also make that simulate what actually was going on in space to enough confidence that when you actually launch the thing, it's going to match what you just trained or tested against.
How do you know? How do you even know? I'll never understand.
Yeah. They gets into space, has to adjust this much. I'm like, how many rockets did you have to shoot up there to know that? Crazy.
It's absolutely insane. All right, my next note is we're just going to take a quick second for 1960s fashion. Not so much for men because it was super boring, but the women's clothes, I probably talked about it like crazy when we watched Hairspray, but just like all the dresses, even the hair, like I just love.
The cars too.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh God, their car was fantastic. Even, I mean, there were some scenes, there were some like cute little pink cars that I just feel like we need to take a second.
I think what kills me about these kind of movies is when they show the cars, a lot of times they're showing like cars that either have been preserved, or like some car enthusiast is like, oh, I'm going to loan my car for the show thing. So what you're seeing is like the nicest cars kept in the most pristine conditions. You don't see most of like the beaters that are out there, or just like your every average, car that didn't make it from 1961 until present day. So it's always funny watching these movies and you see a bunch of like really nice, like super stylish cars. I imagine not all cars looked that great.
Yep. I definitely thought about that too. Even the fact that at the beginning they were trying to talk about how their car was like so beat up and like wouldn't start. And I'm like, but it looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks brand new.
It looks impeccably kept that I don't know how it's not starting. But I feel like the 1960s is such an interesting time period for fashion and cars and music and so many things that I love it so much. And I don't think that I like fully processed that that's when this was set and then all of a sudden they came out in their like little outfits for work. And I was like, oh God, I love it so much. All right. My next note, also kind of in a similar fashion, no pun intended, is I feel like Kevin Costner really looked the part with the glasses and just like that, like, I mean, he's probably was like what, early 60s in this movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
Late 50s.
Just probably around there.
Just like what you think of like that kind of man and like as the boss in a big corporate job with his glasses and his short sleeve button down and his skinny black tie tucked into his brown pants. And it was just like, you just fit that part so well.
Yeah. It did help him that he was playing a person who didn't exist.
Yes.
And they was playing like the guy who like says all the right things for today's age. Yeah. I imagine that the guy of that age would have been much less like forgiving and understanding. And
I 100% also thought that during this, is that he was far too accepting from what we know, especially the fact that this was set in Virginia and we are from Virginia. So we've heard a lot of things. We've grown up in a lot of stuff. And
Virginia.
I would not expect someone to be quite so optimistic and open at the time. Although I did read on the Wikipedia page that one of them was saying that they never really noticed race as much at NASA, that it was a little bit dramatized in here because it was like we had a job to do and it was just like
we're just trying to get to the moon.
We can't be super concerned about that. So to a certain extent, I want to believe that, but I don't know. America was not the greatest place. Yeah. Anyways.
The truth probably exists somewhere in between.
Yes, always. That's always the case. I kind of already touched on this. Zelensky, the man who was a Polish Jew whose parents died in the Nazi camp. We watch a lot of World War II stuff. I listen to a lot of World War II books. I just feel like that time is really fascinating. We travel to Europe a lot, so we've like heard a lot about the history of that. But then for this man to be like, oh, my parents died in a Nazi camp and I'm here building a rocket to send a man to space. And just like thinking about how close in time that is. It's, I mean, like almost between like right now and when this movie came out. And just like, you just don't think of those things existing in the same space. And when he brought that up, I was just like, oh my God, what a wild, like 20 years between like World War II. Okay. Space.
Or like, like 15 years, basically, not that long. That's crazy.
It is just, that just like really hit home, especially after just coming home we went to Italy a couple months ago and heard some World War II history. So that just really hit deep for me. My next note is Jim Parsons is so perfect for that role. Like, you love to hate him. And he's just like that kind of person where it's just, you just like, that's what I think of when I think of this time period, is people that are just so like
dismissive.
Yep. Oh, well, like it's never been done before. Like, it's just not done. Women don't sit in here. Like colored women don't sit in here, like whatever. You can't put computers don't put their names on these reports, just like writing everyone off. And you're just like, oh, I hate you so much. But he's so good at that role. Yeah. Not to say that he is like that
there's
himself.
There's so many demographics of people that just want to shove them in a locker for various different reasons.
Yep.
To shove that character, I should say.
And I also think like fashion wise, just like a very tall, thin man, which I feel like everybody looks like from the 60s with the white shirts and the suits tucked in and everything. I thought he fit the role well. My next note, I guess I kind of already talked about this, is how much of unknown there was leading to launch, and just how much was unprecedented, not only from the space standpoint of, like, we don't have these facts and figures, like we don't have to do this, but like even the women kept referencing like, well, like we're about to send a man into space, but like, so why can't a woman come in? Like the man's never been to space. Why can't a woman sit here? Like, just that they were able to make that comparison so much. And I'm not to say that I think that they really pulled those arguments out very often in real life, but I don't know. I just like hadn't really thought about, like, for so many reasons, for women, for people of color, just like people from all different nationalities just being accepted, and but also like sending people into outer space. Just what a wild, interesting time. Yeah.
Well, like in the middle of like rewriting like the laws of everything we knew, it's like that's kind of kind of lends into the time period of being like, oh, well, all these assumptions and decisions we made, like we can go ahead and challenge and rewrite those too.
Yeah, I thought that they did a good job of tying that in, if not just for the sake of the movie. It makes you think, or at least made me think. Yeah. All right, and then my last note is Kevin Costner is talking to Jim Parsons, and he's like, like, your job is to find the genius in the room. And he has a whole much more beautiful speech than that I can't remember off the top of my head, but I just felt like that is such excellent advice for anybody who is going into the corporate world or any kind of like management position of, I feel like we are living in a time where everybody is like, me. I want to make the money. I want to be in charge. But if you are going to be a good person in a role of leadership, like that is exactly the point. And it's just such a good piece of advice. And it's just like, hurts more seeing how selfish and narcissistic so many people are in today's world, however many years later from this point in time. And not just obviously a fictional character, not really said, but I felt like that was, regardless, it's something that is going to stick with me and like made me think. And I think that's the point of movies as it is. And that's just something that I feel like all people in roles of leadership should take.
Yeah. On the one hand, I feel like a lot of what he was like, the way his character said things and did things was like almost like whitewashing things
100%.
and like white savior type stuff. But I do think like what he said there was, as someone who's like also listening to a whole bunch of like leadership podcasts and taking all that, the way he was saying that, I was like, that sounds like something a leadership like podcast would tell you to do, is like, that's what your role is. That's what you should be doing. I totally got that. Like, remember that exact scene being like, sounds like something directly out of one of my leadership podcasts.
And maybe it stuck out to me because you have been talking to me so much about your own personal life, but I just feel like, I mean, for anybody, find the person that is going to help others succeed, whether it is, parents in the PTA or people in work, leading a group of people trying to, figure things out. I feel like it is something that should, transcend everybody and is just such a good piece of advice. And I just really liked it. Yeah. So anyways, I think that's all of my notes.
Awesome. So I will go into my notes. My first one being from the beginning scene where they're in that nice car that was broken down and the cop gives them the escort. They're riding super close to that cop. And I think they kind of like mentioned that.
They joke on it a little bit.
But like, that's really close, especially in a car of that era that probably did not have the best brakes. And it had just been kind of broken down. It's like, do you know how well the brakes are actually going to function in that time? Just like,
and being three black women following a white male cop just like I would be one of the other two women in the backseat. Like, it's not worth it. Don't risk it.
I just want to know, like, was that something like directly from the book this is based on, or was that something that they edited for some reason? It just seemed like a interesting choice for them to be going that close to anyone, really. My next note was that these departments sound like something out of Severance. The way they were talking about, like, I wish I had written down the exact names of them, but it was like, it almost
West
sounded like
Computing Group. Yeah,
it almost sounded like macro data refinement. Just the way they were describing that, I was like, it sounds very much, and the way they were dressing, the time period, it just felt so much like it fit with that is so true. Time period of Severance. Again, I wish I had actually written down what they were. My next note was that Kirsten Dunst grew up, but she also looked kind of terrible. Yeah,
I don't want to be judgy.
I don't know if that's who she was playing, but
and a lot of it might be hair and makeup, how they were dressing her, but she's the age we are now, and not to say that we have aged flawlessly, but
her age in that movie is the age that we are today. She's older than us.
Yes,
in real life.
In the movie, in the movie, she is the age we are right now.
And her like eyes were like half open. Her like she just didn't look good. She looked way older than 30 something.
And if she was going through something, I hope that she is in a better place right now. But I don't feel like hair and makeup did her any justice either. Yeah. And maybe they were trying to age her up a little bit to be that someone in more of a supervisor role. Because how many like 30-year-old women are in supervisor-esque capacities at NASA, that maybe they were trying to make her look older, but I don't know. Yeah. She did not look great in the movie.
For sure.
Her acting was great though. I mean, she definitely played that part well. Yeah.
No complaints there. My next note was it was from after, I guess, the first day that they showed them there at NASA where they were working late. Was coordinating carpools before cell phones must have sucked. When you don't know whether the person that's riding with you is like ever.
We've been waiting for hours.
Yeah. They might be working until 10 p.m. They might be working until 6. They might be working, like, you don't know. And you gotta be like, oh, we gotta just have to sit here and wait to see, are they ever going to come out to drive them home? Yeah. You can't just like text them and be like, BT dubs, I will, come home later. Also, like, would she have caught a lift? Like, how would she have gotten home from Langley if no one drove her home there?
Called a lift. Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't know what sort of like taxi situation they would have had to be like, oh, come pick me up on base from this.
And I just, especially for the character of Catherine, obviously she is a real person. We're calling her a character now because we still need to do some fact checking, but just thinking about like how much, like what an important role she held in this story. And she's got 3 little girls at home, and she's and she is widowed. So she is the like caretaker of the family, financially, emotionally, all the things. Fortunately, she does have her mom around to help her, but just thinking like what I imagine goes into all of the computing and and mental stress of working for NASA to launch the first people into space. And then also having to like come home and be mom. Like I am full-time mom and I barely have the capacity to be mom. That like
Wikipedia did say that her kids were teenagers.
Yes, I did.
So they would have been a little bit older, and it was a different time period where parents were much less like helicoptery, and you just kind of let them wander and roam, I guess, after school. Had our mom there, but still, yeah, I thought the same thing too, where she was working late a lot.
Yeah.
And have 3 young kids to take care of.
And the whole like, when Kevin Costner was like, call your wives, tell them we're working late and that's the new norm. And just like thinking like, no wonder it's so tough for women. We do not make it easy.
Yeah.
Especially in her scenario where she is, it's not like she has a husband, like Mary Jackson was married and he loved her so much and he bought her pencils for class. It was so cute. But like she was the like mom and dad sole provider of her family. She obviously, again, she does have her mom, but like just crazy.
Yeah. Definitely was not easy on so many fronts there. Already covered about wishing my job title was computer.
I'll start referring to, what does your husband do? He's a computer.
Is a computer. My next note was, damn Glenn Powell. We can't escape him. Like he's so much in everything these days. And this movie came out 9
Andrew
years
does
ago.
not care for him.
I now think he's definitely improved as an actor, because I don't think he was that great as John Glenn in this. He was great as someone who just looked like a plastic white male of the time period. Played that role fine, but his acting I didn't think was that great. Didn't think that I would see him in this, considering
I don't
it's very
think I realized
he's
he'd been around that long. I feel like he's like, in my mind, he is someone that has really blown up in the last like 2 years.
Yeah, since like 2022.
Yeah.
2021, like since or around the time we started this podcast, really.
Probably. 23. That's when we started the podcast.
True.
That I was not expecting to see him in this. I do not dislike him as much as you do, but I mean, he's not like my favorite person.
It's just his weird like smile, and that he was like in literally everything. Everyone just like was obsessed with him.
He smiles too much, so
it's just a weird smile. It's like he smiles like someone described smiling, but he'd never actually seen someone smile, and he was, I don't know, something about it. Anyways, moving on. My next note was, it's like from this movie, like you think like 60 years later, in today's age, people still think they can redact info with a Sharpie. There's like been situations where documents have been like redacted and then scanned and then release the redacted versions. People are able to like take the PDF, look at the Sharpie, and you can still see the pen marks going through it to figure out the redacted information. That it's like crazy that we didn't, understand that even as far as like 60 years ago at NASA, that people could take redacted information with a Sharpie, hold it up to a light and see through it. Still happens today.
Even as recently as this weekend for Mother's Day, I used a Sharpie to cross out the price and realized it was like very obvious what the price was on what I had, and I had to like cut it out. That like Sharpie or dark marker is not the way.
Yeah, someone should make a tool or something that's better at,
or something like whiteout, but like that's like something that you're placing over top of the print. I don't know. It's
called like redactor, and it's just a thing that goes over it.
Redacting.
Yeah. And we will sell it, and they can be our sponsor. There you go.
We are just a fountain of ideas here.
Anyways, my next note was world's hardest whiteboarding job interview, where they give Catherine the chalk, and she's invited to that
her first meeting
with all of these people in a like classified meeting, and he's like, "Oh, go ahead and do all this crazy math on a whiteboard in front of everyone staring at you
on a chalkboard."
Yeah, on a chalkboard, not even just a whiteboard, which I feel like is so much harder with just the feeling of chalk.
Right.
But and do all this crazy math in your head while doing this. Like I can't imagine the stress of that with like 30 people in there watching you.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do it.
I am
definitely like a shut down under pressure kind of person. That I saw her doing that and I was like, nope.
My first job interview coming out of college, I had to whiteboard in front of a group of like, I think there were 11 people in the room, and it was only the whiteboard I was diagramming and writing code for like maybe 3 or 4 minutes.
That's a long time.
My armpit sweat stains basically covered my entire shirt.
Were they down to your hips?
It was like I was just wearing a wet shirt. Just the pressure of that. I can't imagine being in that situation. Like, oh, you've got 30
with
people,
like someone's life.
Yeah.
NASA.
Who all think you shouldn't be here. And you have to sit here and do this crazy math with someone's life on the line and prove it. And crushed it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I would have just disintegrated into dust.
Like I said, there are some special people out there. Puddle. I am not one of them.
Anyways, and then my last note was, unfortunately, there was no suspense with the John Glenn like burning up whatever thing, because I think most people also like know his story and know that he survived, and like also was like the oldest man to go like back into orbit in space. We also watched the Right Stuff earlier this season, so it's like you get to that point, they're like, oh my gosh, he's like burning up. Did she get the calculation wrong or something? He's like, well, we know he's going to be fine.
I mean, I will say, I feel like the graphics of that, where you're like, how does he survive this? I mean, like watching, I feel like
completely on fire.
Getting a visual of it added something a little bit for me. But yeah, there was not a whole lot of suspense with a lot of these scenes in this movie, especially being that we are at the season finale of a space season, where over the last 9 episodes / 6 months, we have watched a lot of space movies, and a lot of them have been based on similar things. And
I did like the one from before that though, where it was like Alan Shepard, where it landed.
No, Grisham,
and like blew the doors blue before that, and like having seen that from the Right Stuff point of view earlier this season was really kind of cool to see that. Like as
we know what happens here
as it's landing, it's in there. I'm like, oh, I better know this exactly.
Yep.
Which
and there's a helicopter. We got it.
Yep. It was really kind of cool to see.
Yeah, and I feel like that means that we have learned something this season, which was really the whole point of it.
We've been cultured in somewhat of the space race,
and somewhat sci-fi. In science fiction.
Yep.
Just a continuation. But I think with that, you're done with your notes. We are done with space.
The longest season.
I never thought we'd get here.
It doesn't help that also every single movie was so long.
Right. And also, spoiler alert, it is not going to get any better in our next season.
Are we ready to reveal next season?
I think we should.
Yeah.
So we are taking so we've done sci-fi, we've done space, but we are going to take a hard pivot out of space into
war. Specifically. I think most of these we're going to be World War II.
I'm pretty certain all the movies we have picked out are from World War II.
So we're heading about 20-ish years prior to when this movie and a couple other movies from the season took place, and heading into World War II, which is famously known obviously for short movies, right?
Yeah, I'm like I've already mentioned in this episode, I am very fascinated by World War II. I feel like there's so much history, so many stories to be told, so much that to unpack there. A lot of devastation, obviously, but I also feel like most of the movies on the list I haven't even seen before. So I'm like really excited to dive deep into this and learn a little bit more.
I'm excited because also a lot of them, like if I did see them, it was a long time ago or didn't really have the context. We're also going to play around with the format a little bit this season. There's going to be at least one episode where we have 2 episodes or 2 movies in one episode. So we'll kind of play around with it, make it work for ourselves, and hopefully it doesn't stretch out nearly this long.
Yeah, I feel like what we have learned from the last couple of weeks of finishing out the season is that we just like have to commit to it again. Like we were really good first season. It was like we have to, or no, for the first 6 months, we did it 6 months uninterrupted without a break. And we were so good about that. And then we just kind of allowed life to creep in too much. And I think we need to kind of come up with like, once we start a season, we just have to like,
yeah. Luckily the summer's coming up. We won't be busy at all. So it'll be fine.
I will say, I feel like fall is the busier time for us than the summer.
Yeah. So we will try to do our best to get these out on a timely manner for all of our fans out there. And
yes,
I'm excited for it.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching and staying patient with us throughout the space season. We hope that this is our last like really long dragged out season. And if you are watching and enjoying, that we would really appreciate it if you could like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening to us wherever you get your podcast, if you could rate and review the podcast, we would super appreciate it. And we also have an Instagram where you can follow and see some fun sneak peeks of our reels, Culture Night Pod on Instagram. And if you have any questions, thoughts, movies that you want to suggest to us, themes you want to suggest to us, any information that we got just like completely wrong, please feel free to send us an email, or any other behind the scenes facts that you might know about a movie or a certain scenario. Please email them to us at culturenightpod@gmail.com, and stay tuned because we will hopefully be back in the not too distant future with our next episode with War.
Can't wait.
Catch it in season 7.